I'm John Leonard, corporate lawyer in Denver, Colorado with Fairfield and Woods. And today I'm here with one of my partners, Paul Yonda. He's a litigator. Today we're going to do 3 videos with Paul just on some general ideas about what litigation is versus mediation versus arbitration. This first video is going to be just about litigation. As a corporate lawyer, I never go to court unless I'm in trouble. So hopefully you never see me in court. Paul's in court all the time, so I'm sure I'll learn some things today as well. So Paul, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, John.
So litigation. So what is a lawsuit? How is it commenced? What would I receive if I'm a defendant? How do you commence one if you're a plaintiff? What is a plaintiff and defendant? I'll be quiet and let you talk.
Well, so a plaintiff is someone who sues someone else generally. And a lawsuit is, broadly speaking, sort of a government sanctioned means of dispute resolution. So you're in a disagreement with your neighbor or a business partner, potentially your spouse, and a lawsuit is a way to achieve sort of a final resolution of what the facts are in your dispute, how the law might apply to those facts. So, for example, sometimes it might be really hard to say whose property the fence is really on or who owes who what. But the benefits of a lawsuit are that you get to a final answer in sort of a set period of time, no matter what, and the subject matter can be about most anything that you would be in a disagreement over. But the person who sues the other person is the plaintiff. Then the defendant, they might have some claims too that they might raise as part of that. And then we all sort of jump into the process of resolving that in court or in some cases mediation or arbitration. And then in litigation, we also there are some types of disputes before administrative agencies that might be investigating an issue or that might be the proper forum. If you're a professional with a concern about your license, like we're both licensed professionals, that might be something that falls under the banner of what we litigators do here. Not quite a lawsuit per se, but it's sort of like that in that we're all showing up and we're arguing our facts and our position in front of some sort of body.
Well, let's talk. You brought up the process. What is the process to get a lawsuit initiated? And if you're the defendant, what's the process to respond?
If you're in a dispute with someone, we always recommend you contact a lawyer first, in part because there are some really important deadlines and some things that can happen that if you don't fall within the statute of limitations, for example, you wait one day too long to raise this dispute and you're out of luck. Similarly, if you've been served with a lawsuit, then you're on a really short fuse to respond to that lawsuit. Otherwise, you could be found in default and you could lose before you've even started. So first contact a lawyer, and then keep in mind that a lot of those sort of one-time things are going to pass by if you're not careful, including preserving all the evidence you have. Maybe your dispute involves a bunch of things that you've got on your cell phone or subject to a document retention issue with your email. So you want to make sure that you've talked to us, so we've shored all that up, and you don't come to find later when you wanted to raise that dispute, you had lost something important. And then the plaintiff is going to file the lawsuit in court and serve the defendant, and we get going from there. That enters a process that takes a year or two typically.
So let's talk about what a summons is and what a complaint is. And then in the next video, we'll talk about discovery and the process there. But for this video, let's talk about what's the difference between a summons and how long do you have to respond, and what's a complaint?
A summons is just basically a document that says you've got to show up in court. So you can be summoned for various reasons that you might be a witness to a lawsuit. And it's a document that accompanies a complaint because when you've been sued, you have to show up in one way or another. And I think early in the video, you said we show up in court a lot. You know, a lot of the world's on Zoom now, and also a lot of what we litigators do is all sitting at our computer in our office. So it's not like you get served with a lawsuit and you're going to have to show up in person on a certain date, but you need us to file some paperwork for you. So the summons says you've got to show up in court and do something. A complaint is basically a document laying out why, if you're the plaintiff, you're suing the other person, or if you're the defendant, why they're suing you. It sort of describes what the facts are and then lays out what we would call a set of legal claims. So that could be breach of contract, for example. Often in our business world, the complaint would say, here's the contract, here's what it said the other side had to do, and here's what they didn't do. So that's why I'm suing them, and now you have to show up.
When you get a summons and a complaint, does a human being have to hand you that, the subpoena? Or can it be served in a different way?
Generally, a human being has to hand it to you, and there's some different service requirements. But if you know you're getting into a dispute too, we can waive service to sort of avoid the inconvenience and embarrassment of that process as well. So that's another benefit of having a lawyer, is sometimes some of those procedural things we can work around a bit. But yeah, generally to sue someone, they have to be in existence in the state where you're suing them.
Right.
And you've got to get the complaint in your hand.
Listen, if you get a summons, call Paul, because you only have a few days to file a response. And that's going to be the subject of our next video. Once you've been served, what do you do?